As you can see, we're learning about the Mesopotamian and Egyptian civilizations. We're going back 5,000 years to a place that Greeks called Mesopotamia, which means land between the rivers. Those rivers were called the Tigris and the Euphrates, which formed a fertile crescent, sometimes called the cradle of civilization. Oh, very, very funny. Mesopotamia actually refers to an area rather than a country. In different times, it was ruled by the Sumerians, the Akkadians, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, and the Persians. They lived close to the natural world, and like this lion, they decorated the walls of the Easter Gate. Their animal art was pretty realistic. In Mesopotamia, they invented the first written language called cuneiform. They started with pictographs, but over the time, the writing evolved into more abstract symbols. They also got cool names to their buildings like ziggurat. In they built a massive ziggurat to pay homage to the gods. Ziggurat. I love the sound of that. The ziggurat was the center of the city. Moving on, Mesopotamia may have started the civilization craze, but Egypt took it to a new standard. Egypt depended on one great river, the Nile, and developed this civilization that lasted over 3,000 years. When Tutankhamun became pharaoh, the Great Pyramids were already 1,000 years old, and it was another 1,000 years after that when Cleopatra held power. Egyptologists invented a genius system to classify the different periods of Egyptian rule. There's the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, the New Kingdom, and the latest kingdom. How did they think of that? That doesn't mean Egyptians weren't creative. Just look at their pantheon of gods. They imagined jackal-headed gods and hawk-headed gods, lion-headed goddesses, hippo-headed goddesses, oh my, crocodile-headed gods, and ibis-headed gods, cat-headed gods, and, well, you get the picture. Egyptians were obsessed over death, and the afterlife paintings on the walls of tombs often showed the Ba or Sow on its journey through the afterlife. When an Egyptian artist painted a picture, every body part was shown from its most recognized angle. The face was shown in profile, except for the eye, which was shown head-on. The body was shown head-on, and the legs and feet were twisted back in the profile. Don't try this at home, please. Alexander the Great admired Egypt so much that he decided to conquer it in 332 BC. While in Egypt, he founded the city of Alexandria on the northern coast of Egypt, and installed its general Ptolemy as pharaoh. Greek elements were introduced into the arts. The Ptolemy dynasty lasted 275 years and included several Ptolemies and Cleopatras. The most famous of these was Cleopatra VII, whose son Ptolemy XV was the last pharaoh in Egypt. In 30 BC, Rome conquered Egypt.